Good morning and welcome to today's virtual webinar with eSolutions and Veritas. My name is Mark Forker. I'm the editor of Computer News Middle East, and I'm delighted to have been afforded the opportunity to moderate today's session. The objective and theme of this morning's virtual webinar is to examine ways in which we can reduce complexity in your hybrid multi-cloud environment. Before we begin the webinar, I would like to give our attendees a quick run through the agenda. We will have a brief introduction from Robert Nami, General Manager, eSolutions Data Management, who will tell us more about how his company has established itself as a leader in terms of managing complex data protection and cloud migration projects. Our first and only presentation of the day will be conducted by Tariq El-Ridi, Senior Solutions Sales Engineer at Veritas Technologies, and his presentation is entitled Cloud Journey with Veritas, See, Move, Protect. Following the conclusion of Tariq's presentation, we will then proceed to a panel discussion that will be chaired by me, and I will ask Robert to join me and Tariq for a conversation on some of the topics that will have been discussed during the webinar at that point. So without further ado, you've heard enough from me. I'd like to welcome Robert to deliver his introductory note. Thank you very much. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. I hope it will be beneficial for you, and especially on your complex environment, how we can help you on your data protection and data management solution. So my name is Robert Nami. I'm General Manager for eSolutions Data Management. eSolutions Data Management is part of Midis Group, focusing on data protection solution, mainly on Veritas, and we do some migration on the cloud as well. We are platinum partner for Veritas, and we are service provider for Veritas as well. We've been delivering Veritas complex project for the past 15 years, and for sure, the most complex implementation, it has been done by eSolutions Data Management. We have expertise on the full Veritas portfolio, and we have a lot of reference in the region. I can name the biggest oil and gas or government company. We have helped them with their data visibility, data protection, as well as high availability. So this just small introduction on what's the relation between eSolutions and Veritas. As I said, we are a platinum partner, we are a service provider. It's still and we have the full expertise on the full portfolio. I will hand over the presentation to Tariq, so he will go with a full technical presentation. As well, I will be on the panel discussion for any question in terms of any services requirement or any anything related to the implementation of the services part. Okay, thank you everyone, and I hope you will enjoy our session today. So Tariq, please, can you take over?
Thanks for that, Robert. Appreciate that. And as you've already said, we'll see you later on for the panel discussion. So thanks a million for that. So yeah, as you already said, I'd like to hand over now to Tariq El-Ridi, who's going to give us a presentation on Cloud Journey with Veritas, See, Move, Protect. Over to you, Tariq. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Robert. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tariq El-Ridi. I'm a solution SE, work in Veritas. I've been into the disaster recovery, the backup, the data analytics for the past 15 years across different technologies. So I hope you enjoy the session, and let's start. Today, actually, our theme is related to the cloud journey. How can Veritas help you in seeing what data to be moved, how we are going to move it, and how we are going to protect it? So our theme today is See, Move, and Protect, and how Veritas can help you on this. I start with a misconception. I want to clear it out to everyone, and I hope that it's clear and understood well. Is that I'm, as a customer, I have a cloud, I'm in the cloud, and I don't need backup. I want to clear this misconception. It's this statement. It has been written by the most major CSPs or the cloud providers in the market: Azure, Amazon. If it is a local service provider or public service provider, infrastructure is the responsibility of the cloud provider. Data is your responsibility. You have to take care of it. You have to protect it. You have to make it available. If any ransomware attacks, if any user human error, delete the data, corruption, encryption key corruption, any kind of these kind of issues, it's your responsibility, Mr. Customer. So clear it out. You can refer back to your contracts with your cloud provider. This statement is very well known in most of the contracts. Moving to the cloud, it's a journey. Okay, it's not an easy step, and it has some obstacles to move and to be operated normally on the cloud. As you know, data is getting bigger and bigger. You need an efficient way to store this kind of data in the cloud. If you don't know your data and you're putting it in the cloud, you will be paying, and you don't know anything about it, you will be paying for the charges every month, just wasting money on a data that maybe you don't need. Half of it you don't need, or maybe 20–30% you don't need. Or maybe it can be moved to a different tier or different kind of storage. So that's the challenge. The data itself, we now depend on it, not like before. So we want to know what kind of data, how, and what it is related to our business in order for us as a business owners to take decisions and move forward. So we depend on the data more, not like before. Of course, budget constraints. With the pandemic that we have more budget constraints. The complexity of the infrastructure, whether it is on-premise or on the cloud, how to optimize the infrastructure, what kind of virtual machine or computing power has been used, so I can free it up from my computing power and reduce cost, and of course the compliance that we need to meet with. With Veritas, we will help you see your data, see the right data that should be deleted, moved, computing power that it should be shut down or at risk, data is at risk. And we help you move. We help you move or migrate to the cloud. We help you move to migrate or to fail over between the cloud or from on-premise to the cloud. And finally, we help you protect your data and your infrastructure. If we start by how we can help you in seeing your data or insider visibility, if we talked about data, the analysis, it said that most of the data, the data is going up in a very crazy way. We now have data everywhere. I'm sure that you know that we have data on a mobile, on the cloud, on local, SharePoint document. SharePoint is linked to OneDrive for backup. OneDrive, I needed to share it with someone else. So data is getting bigger and bigger. The problem that we as an IT, we don't have the time and the luxury to know deep what are the data is related to our business. So at least 50% of the data that we have as files, unfortunately, we don't know anything about it. And in order to know, we will have problems to know this data. So first of all, we need to know who's the owner of the data, who's using it. And then, is it sensitive data? It is not sensitive. Is it important? Do I need to keep it? Do I need to move it to a different tier? Do I need to delete it? Do I need to take it to a tape? Is it important from a compliance perspective? I have to keep it, but I don't need to use it. If I want to take the decision as a CIO or an IT to dig into the details and try to get what kind of data, it will take very long time. It will cost too much. And this is like the old days that when we go to a warehouse and start to do some inventory, it takes ages. Okay, so imagine with the IT, with warehouses, you can see the boxes, you can see the stuff, but data electronic is the user who is using the file is still in the company or resigned. These kind of things you cannot, you need a tool to help you with. So how can we help you seeing your data? We help you with two products, APTARE Analytics and Data Insight. If we talked about APTARE, it's mainly IT infrastructure analytic tool. It's an infrastructure, not data. It actually looks for any kind of data in any kind of cloud, in any kind of storage, from any kind of backup solution. So it's not related to Veritas Net Backup, no. This tool is agnostic to look on the data on the backup, on the cloud, on a storage, and it scans the data, it scans the computing power, the hypervisors, and it correlates the data between each other. We take that data, we run into an analytic tool, and we get you some results and reports for you to take the best decisions in terms of computing power and storage utilization, whether it's on-premise or on the cloud. I have virtual machines, but I need to move it to the cloud. What are the right virtual machines to move it to the cloud? What are the virtual machines that is not needed? So at the end, it can save for me cost when it comes to the cloud. It can save for me cost when it comes to a storage, and etc. It's a tool that it's an agentless. It looks into, if I zoom in here, let me grab a pointer. Now, if I zoom here, it looks on any kind of storage, SAN or NAS, any file system, any application, any operating system, any cloud provider, any hypervisor, volume manager, clustered, Veritas, RAC, ASMs, all these kinds of service guard from HP Unix, any SAN switches, because it links the data starting from the SAN switches, the servers, the SAN storage, and it relates the data and draws for you a diagram how the infrastructure looks like, how it is connected. Also, we scan the public cloud and private, and any private clouds like local clouds. So OpenStack, similar to these things. So it's agnostic, agentless. Collectors collect data. When we scan, we index, we get you some results. We have our own templates showing you some results from our own 325 reports, or you can create your custom reports. So if I take you to some examples, this is a report that it shows you what kind of storage that you have, how can we optimize it. So let's say this is an storage optimization overview, and it right away it tells you that there is 2.2 petabyte reclaimable space, or some amount of your storage reclaimable. Now this kind of storage, it can be a couple of SAN storages and NAS, and this is a total holistic view. Out of that reclaimable storage, you can dig into the details, and you can see that there are some unallocated LUNs. There are high backup retention. Let's say you are running some backup policies, and these backup policies, it has a long retention, which maybe you don't need. You're wasting your storage for a long retention for a certain backup policy, and at the end you don't need. There are some VMs has been powered off, wasting your storage, or low CPU, maybe has been used. Your Amazon orphan volumes are Amazon orphan snapshots. Maybe you are snapshotting your virtual machines and you don't need these snapshots anymore. And all these tags are all clickable. So you can click on it and it takes you directly which host and why and how much from that report. As an example here, it It shows you a holistic view of, let's say, as an example, if we take that spike 1, which is the undiscovered LUNs. So from the undiscovered LUNs from the storage, you can see that by November 2016, as an example, it goes down and down, and then suddenly something happened here. Okay, so you can go ahead and start digging into your SAN storage and tell your IT admins what's happening. These LUNs are not has been used. Why? Why you are presenting it? Why are provisioning the LUN but you are not using it? So you can have a better view and switch your LUN or your storage towards something that you need. Because this will show you that the storage utilization from a storage perspective, it's, let's say, 80%. But in reality, 20% or 50% of that 80% is not used. So it helps you in a clever way, in a savvy way, to see your infrastructure and to use it in a more better way. This is another example when it comes to a cost or a chargeback. So let's say you have here your Amazon billing system. You are paying this amount of money. You can click on any date and go into the details and see what exactly is costing you. As an example, here we have the application usage. We can help you see the cost even per cloud infrastructure as a tier 1. Maybe you have on Amazon or Azure or even local. You have 2 different kinds of infrastructure, tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 is for production, tier 2 is for UAT and development. And but this report is related to the cloud. So sorry, give me seconds. Yeah. So the cost is per gig, let's say is $25. So the cloud infrastructure, tier 1, it cost me this amount. You can click on it and see exactly which host is costing me what. So let's say a host as a tier 1 running on a specific array or a specific LUN, this LUN on a specific storage, it cost me this amount of money. So with that report, let's say if there are some virtual machines that has been created for temporary purpose and the IT team forgot to delete it, or the UAT team or development team, they didn't come back to you and said that I don't need this virtual machine. This will cost you money, especially when you go to the cloud, provider like Amazon, public Azure or Amazon. This is a running cost. You will pay for the provisioned virtual machines every month. So with these reports, you will be able to see how much is costing. Is it useful or not useful? Here, just an example of the cloud capacity per UAT, per production, per disaster recovery, the allocated capacity. Of course, and again, you can click on any of these and you can drill down until you see, and you can move to the LUN, to the SAN switch, to the host. Okay. This is also an example that allocated capacity per by application. How many terabytes is let's say Oracle application is consuming, or Oracle Finance from a storage perspective. Maybe there are some customers that I met. They are stretching the LUN across 2 different SAN storage to give availability active scenario. But when I dig into the details, I found that they don't have a clustered active clustered configured on the Oracle side. So yes, they are stretching the storage to give the capability of the active scenario, but on the Oracle, they are using Oracle Data Guard between the active and the passive nodes. So why you are stretching the cluster and paying for your storage provider extra license to have an active stretch cluster, but from an application and database, you're not activating it. You don't have an Oracle rack. You didn't put the Oracle ASM on it. So All these kind of reports, it rolls you back to seeing your infrastructure and optimize it more efficiently on-premise or on the cloud. If we can see another report here, this is blue is Amazon, and you can see that there are some trends. This has been costing me this amount of money, and suddenly something happened in Azure and everyone is using Amazon. So you can drill down and see where are the spendings, where are the payments. So let's say the top 10 spenders in the IT. Who's costing me money? Is the marketing, the finance team, the legal, the compliance? How much each department is costing me? Okay, maybe the marketing team, they are consuming a lot of storage and with data that you don't need. So this kind of infrastructure analytic to give you visibility on your infrastructure on the cloud or on premise. If we talk about data insight, which is the second tool, so we have APTARE and we have data insight. Data insight, it focuses on the files, the risk on the files, permissions, what kind of permissions, what kind of sensitive data that I have in my files. And it scans and it looks on any file structure. So file service, NAS storage, SharePoint, OneDrive, any file system. It scans your data and it starts collecting information related to security. Who has got access to what? If data insight detected that the user is disabled from Active Directory because the user resigned, but the user still have access to certain file. Why? Why you don't remove that user from the shares and the permissions? So these are risks that this tool, it can help you bring it on the surface and you can see. As an example, we have an access summary report. Who has access to what? And it's not only about the access, it's, let's say if we take this example, a folder has been created by the administrator. But he's the owner. From an IT's perspective, he's the owner. But the administrator is not using it. But the real one is John, because he's the data owner. He's accessing it. He's writing to it. He's reading from it. So he's the real inferred data owner. He's the real owner. If I want to check why you are using it, I should go to that guy. Maybe when I right-click on the folder, properties, go to permissions, I can see, let's say, 20 employees, a list of employees. But I don't know which user is using it. Who is relevant to that folder. So I can see all these details from the summary report. Access details. John or Muhammad or Ali, he has write access, read access, review only, what kind of access details, capacity report, ownership, the customs. So this is just an example of identifying data owner and access permission. So these are the shares. We have some shares running in a file system or across SharePoints and shares and NAS. And this, as an example, this folder has been created by the administrator. Last known by under activity is Mark Smith, but as a read, but written is admin. So this by itself, it's a threat. Why an admin had write access or did try to write to a folder, which I know that folder is sensitive, related to VIP user, C-level, legal. Why the admin has did write data on that folder? This clicks on me that let's dig into the details and see what kind of file that he created, what exactly he did in the folder, and dig into the details to find and bring the problems or the risk up into the surface. Okay, so this is one of the reports. Another example of the reports, I can identify the risk. So as an example, a real scenario, one of the security entities, we found out that there was someone, not IT, there is a file. No, it's actually looked at the share, and it went into the files, and it identified a file, Word file, as a risk. We opened that file, and we found out that there are some IP addresses. Okay, so we digged into the details. Who's the owner of the file? We found out that he's not an IT. Maybe he's an IT, he's collecting the IP addresses, but that's okay. But someone from marketing and has a Word file with IP addresses, that's a big risk. Of course, we took this to a legal hold, and the legal hold started digging into the details, and we found out that this guy trying to penetrate, helping someone to penetrate the account from outside. So with that tool, it can help you early identify the risk and try to allocate where exactly the threats can come from. Another example is risk score. So a user in finance, I will not forget about finance, again, marketing. And I'm sorry, the marketing team, they are offended, but I always use the marketing team as an example. So marketing employee, he's trying to open a file, trying to open, double click, he's not opening, it's not opening, trying to opening it again. He's not an IT guy, so he doesn't know, maybe he tries a couple of times to open the file. It will automatically pop up in our screen that there is someone doesn't have permission, is trying to open a file. We feel as a system, it has some security details, and it raise it to and give it as a risk score. So this is an example. In July, there was some risk activity happened, and that activity, it has a risk score of 63 or 100 or 80 or 10, it depends. So it can identify the sensitive file itself. So if there is a file with PII information or some credit card information, automatically we detect it and we put this in the sensitive data. And we monitor who's accessing those files, who has access to those files, what kind of permission. And it creates a risk score report and show it to you at the risk score, so you can directly go to the system and see what's happening. This was a summary of how we can help you see your data through APTARE and Data Insight. How we can help you move. So moving your system across locations, or on-premise to the cloud, or from a cloud to a cloud, or having a disaster recovery between the clouds or between any data center. There are a lot of challenges. First of all, you have different kind of platforms. Maybe you are moving from Hyper-V to VMware. Maybe you are moving from Unix to Linux. Maybe you are moving from an old Windows version to a new version. You have financial challenges in order to move. You need someone to really migrate this properly and seamlessly without interruption. You need to move across the heterogeneous of your infrastructure. So different platforms, different application. You have Oracle on-premise and the company decided to go to SQL Online. That's a challenge by itself. And finally, you have to comply with your compliance. So you are in the middle trying to manage all this in order to move between data centers or fail over between data centers to a business continuity. So we help you move. We as Veritas, we can help you move through InfoScale and Resiliency platform. These are two products that work together. And the main differences is mainly your RPO and RTO. In InfoScale, we help you give you application availability, database failover and failback, database migration, web service failover and failback, application level. With the Resiliency platform, we do it on the virtual machine level. So we can fail over virtual machines across different locations. ESX to ESX, Hyper-V to Hyper-V, etc., etc. With InfoScale and VRP, they are all automatic recovery. You can set your failover policies to be automated or manual, but at the end, they are automated. With InfoScale, we give you nearly zero RPO because we do synchronous replication. With VRP, we can help you go to RPO 1 minute. With InfoScale, the RTO is near zero. We can bring application in seconds across sites. And most of the enterprise customers in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Egypt, across all the countries, they depend on InfoScale for their business critical application. With the Resiliency platform, we can give RTO 15 minutes. So as you can see, it's the main difference is your RPO and RTO. And how critical is it? Do I need to have a disaster recovery for my virtual infrastructure only, and I will deal with the application? Or I can take Resiliency platform for all my virtual machines to fail over and fail back, and take some of InfoScale, put it on my finance application or my CRM. So this is how it works. With InfoScale, you can have active disaster recovery. You can have 2, 3 data centers active, working together, load balanced. With the Resiliency, no, it's active passive scenario. And again, I'm emphasizing here again that it's irrelevant to the location of the data. On-premise to on-premise, on-premise to cloud, cloud to cloud. With InfoScale, we give high availability and disaster recovery. With Resiliency, we give only disaster recovery. So what is InfoScale? InfoScale, it's a product, it's a software, runs on top of the operating system. It's an operating system agnostic, any kind of operating system, any kind of hypervisor. It gives you availability. It gives you clustering. We can manage your cluster, your Oracle cluster, or we can take over the cluster. So as an example, Oracle Rack, we can manage your Oracle Rack, fail over between the nodes, or we can take over the Oracle Rack, reduce the cost of the Oracle Rack from your side, and we put our clustering file system. We fail over and fail back. We do disaster recovery rehearsals. We do testing. We do orchestration to manage all this environment across any kind of platform. With Resiliency, it works differently.
Tariq,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt your presentation, Tariq, but I've just got a question. If a customer has a different platform across the sites, how can you manage the business continuity plans across different virtualization platforms?
Okay, that's a good question. So I have a customer here in UAE who's having VMware, and from a business perspective, a top management, they decided to move the IT infrastructure, outsource it to a service provider local in the UAE. And they also decided that they will keep everything as is, but they want to fail over, use a service provider as a disaster recovery. So headquarter is VMware, service provider is Hyper-V. How we can solve it? With InfoScale, we can do this easily because we run independently from the hypervisor and the platform. So we can fail over across different hypervisors. We can fail over from Hyper-V to VMware. We can fail over from Hyper-V to Oracle VM. We can fail over from a physical to virtual. So InfoScale, it's agnostic to the platform as the operating system. And it's one of the unique values InfoScale has to achieve and to help you move across different platforms easily.
Thanks for that, Tariq. That was a really comprehensive response to my question. So really appreciate that. So continue with the presentation, and sorry for the interruption.
No problem. With Resiliency platform, we work on the hypervisor level. So we sit on top of your hypervisor, and we detect the traffic between the virtual machines and your storage, and we start replicating the IOs to a different hypervisor. It's VMware to VMware or Hyper-V to Hyper-V. So if we take an example of VMware, with VMware they have a product called SRM. With SRM, you put it on top of the virtual machine or the hypervisor level, and it starts replicating, and it gives you an orchestration tool to fail over and fail back, subnetting and masking. But SRM depends, it requires a storage replication license. It requires the storage to replicate the data. SRM is the orchestrator at the end. Yes, SRM, it has its own replication, but they don't use it for a high scale. With VRP, we can take over SRM, we can take over the storage replication, we will replicate, we will fail over, we will orchestrate, and without any dependency on a hardware. So you can fail over and fail back across any different storage providers. You can have an HP and Dell in the DR, but it has to be similar hypervisor. You can fail over and replicate between hypervisor and the cloud or cloud to cloud. What kind of availability we can do? We can, if you can see here, let me grab a pointer again. Yeah, we have a zone on the cloud or on premise. We have an application running on a local machine. We can fail over the application on another node. This is example one. Second, let's say I have two zones in Amazon. I can fail over the application between the two zones using our mirroring or synchronous replication. You don't need to have extra license for replication. We will replicate the data for you. Global cluster or active passive scenario or whatever you call it, or long distance or different zones or different region. Yes, we can replicate a synchronous replication. We fail over and we fail back. Now again, this is totally operating system and platform agnostic. It does not depend on any kind of storage replication. We orchestrate, we understand the service, we fail it over and fail it back. We can have it active, and we replicate. Totally agnostic, fully depend on the InfoScale. And InfoScale, it's the only one in the market that it can do all these levels, not depending on any kind of storage replication across any location, local, cloud, cloud to cloud. We also understand the business. So let's say you have a critical business. This critical business service, it consists of web running on a VMware as an example with Windows operating system. Your application is running on Linux and your database is running on Unix. I just need you to imagine, if you want to bring that business service up and running, what exactly you need. Yes, the database IBM will come to you and will let me grab another pen, will do a failover for the database through AIX clustering or Linux clustering or load balancer from F5. But the service itself doesn't understand that it has been moved to a different location. So after local replicating and failing over each component, you still do a lot of work to bring the service up and running. We in InfoScale or the business continuity, we understand the business. We can understand the dependencies between the web, the database, the ordering, which one needs to be started after which one. We can dig into the tables of the database under fail over the service to your disaster recovery, local or on the cloud. So when we sign a contract with you, we agree on a business service availability, not storage availability, not data availability, no, business service. Of course, with our orchestrator tool, we can help you start, stop, test. I want to have a test running. I want to have a fire drill. I want to do some test in that location. We do all this. We isolate the network and we run the service up and running. Everything is working fine. Done. We do also disaster recovery across different clouds. So if you move to Azure and you are hesitated, we can have a disaster recovery in Amazon. So in case of Azure failure or Amazon to Azure, across different clouds, we can replicate and fail over. We also do, we help you migrate and we help you fail over from on-premise to the cloud. So migration and fail over from on-premise to the cloud. Our final topic, which is protect. So we covered, we help you see, we help you move, and we help you protect. So protecting your data, to summarize it, or to make it short, whatever data that you have, we can back it up and we can protect it. The data, it can be on-premise or on the cloud, different clouds. Regardless, we protect your data. We can, if you are an on-premise customer and you want to use a cloud for a longer-term retention as a storage, yes, we can back up, use the cloud as a storage. If you have data in Azure and you want to back it up locally on-premise, yes, we can. If you want to back it up locally in Azure, yes, we can. If you want to back it up to a different cloud provider, also, yes, we can. Okay, we can help you do if you are a service provider, we can put our backup support behind the IT infrastructure and provide backup as a service. We can help you to do disaster recovery as a service, infrastructure as a service, and we are backing it up with our self-service portal. So that's how we protect data on the cloud. We have, let me grab the pointer again. So that's the on-premise. On-premise, you as Mr. Customer, you are responsible for everything. From the network up to the users, the data, the administration, securing all these components. But with SaaS, like Office 365 as an example, they are responsible up to the application level. Now, you need to take care of the administration, you need to take care of the data, you need to take care of the user itself, whether it is still working, not working, disabled, not disabled. But at the end, the data, it's your responsibility. Office 365, they give you a guarantee of availability of the data for 30 days. And it can be extended up to 90 days. But what if the data has been deleted and you figured out the data has been deleted after 1 year? And that data is related to the finance or to the legal or to the C-level or the VIP user. It would be a disaster. So we protect SaaS. We protect Office 365, G Suite, Google Cloud, and Salesforce. We can give you granular availability, granular restores for your emails, calendar contacts, Teams, OneDrive. You can drill down up to the email level, the attachment level, document level. We have versioning control. We give you, with that subscription, we give you unlimited amount of storage or limited amount of retention. So you can back up any amount of data as long that with a limited amount of retention for 5 years, 10 years. There is no extra charge for the storage. And that's license per user. You don't need to pay for any kind of infrastructure, no installation, no configuration, just put the ADFS or the Active Directory subscription with Office 365 on our Veritas Pro SaaS, and you will take backup 2 times a day as long that you are under subscription. We back up to the cloud, so we can replicate data to the cloud. So you have an on-premise and you want to have a long-term retention to the cloud. We connect to the cloud through APIs. The data, it gets transferred, deduplicated, and compressed and secured to any blob storage in Amazon and Azure. We can protect inside the cloud. So your Amazon, you are totally dependent on the cloud, your infrastructure on the cloud. You provision a virtual machine, you put our media server, and you start backing it up to Amazon EBS storage. Or you can buy a net backup from Amazon Marketplace and you back it up to S3. That's also available. With Azure also, we do the same. You can provision virtual machines, purchase net backup from the marketplace, or purchase net backup locally from our side if you want to backup to have a local virtual machine with net backup license and start backing up your Azure. You can back up Azure inside to Azure itself. You can back up Azure to on-premise. You can back up Azure to Amazon. It's totally agnostic, free to move across different cloud platforms. You can have also 2 different companies. As an example, you have a local company and you have a cloud company, but they are all under the same group or the same financial entity. Yes, you can manage your local backup locally and your cloud in the cloud, and you can replicate the backup across the 2 sites. So you can have the data availability in any location, or maybe you have a plan to merge these 2 companies in future. So yes, we can combine and replicate the backed up data across these 2 locations. Our final slide, just to summarize. We, again, in Veritas, we can help you to have data visibility. We can help you see your data. We can help you see your infrastructure. We can help you to have business continuity across the cloud and the platform, matching your compliance, protecting your data, portable and free enough to move across different locations, and at the end, optimizing your storage, which is at the end, it costs a lot of money. Thank you so much. I hope that I didn't have more time, which is, I think, on time. Let me know what kind of questions I can answer you.
Thanks for that, Tariq. Superb presentation. I think you perfectly articulated the key values of Veritas's 360 approach, which is to see, move, and protect, and you went into sort of forensic detail on that. So I really enjoyed it. I've got a couple of questions for you, but I'll keep them for the panel discussion. We have one question from one of our attendees. His name's David Roden. It's in relation to sort of data ownership. He's asking, what are the regulations in the UAE for storing data overseas? And he cites the USA and Canada as an example. So I'm just wondering if you're able to answer that one.
Yes. So yes, we have the regulation. I cannot, to be honest, I cannot remember the regulation name of the UAE, but we have the list of the regulation that by default it scans it and detects it as a sensitive data. If I can have his email, Mark, I can send you the list of the regulation names by end of today. But yes, we have the regulation built in Data Insight.
That's brilliant. That's great. Yeah.
Based on each country. So in China, in America, in UAE, in KSA, each one has its own regulation and it's available in Data Insight.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks for that, Tariq. And obviously we'll communicate his details to you after the webinar, so you can strike up a conversation there. So look, as I said, not a reflection on your panel sometimes, or your presentation, sorry. Sometimes there's the questions guys prefer to reach out afterwards. As I said, I thought it was a superb presentation. I really enjoyed it. And as I said, I thought you articulated your points really well. So I'd like to invite Robert back on now for our Q&A panel discussion. So, there you are.
Okay, thank you, Tariq, for the good presentation. It was really helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Okay, so I'm here if any question related. Okay, as you know, Veritas like the vendor who providing the solution, and we are the system integrator who will deliver the solution and to implement and support. So any question regarding delivery, regarding designing a solution or implementing or support, I'm here. I would be happy to help and to answer any question.
Yeah, that's great, Robert. And obviously, just to echo what you're saying for our attendees, feel free to use the chat function and ask a question at any stage. Robert, just to keep you on there, obviously we've heard about eSolutions and the capabilities of your company, but can you just tell us a little bit maybe more about your relationship with Veritas and tell us what the agreement is between eSolutions and Veritas services?
Yes, for sure. As I said, like in terms of license, we are a platinum partner for Veritas. We have this agreement to deliver license, appliance, and everything. However, we have a side like a more specialized agreement with Veritas as a service provider. So we are the services, we are the approved services provider for Veritas. So what does it mean? Like Veritas is enabling our team to be updated on all new technology, on any new version of any software. So we are up to date on all the training provided by Veritas, and like we are approved from Veritas to deliver complex projects.
Okay.
As a services project. So this the advantage of eSolution on delivering such complex project, which will be monitored by Veritas services team.
Okay, and would you say that's sort of what you're really well known for is delivering those complex migration projects, and that's why Veritas is obviously
it's not only the migration. So any kind of Veritas project we can deliver as well. We do a migration project as well.
Yeah.
So we help our customer to migrate to the cloud. So we have like we can do it in a different way. We have different tools to migrate. Like sometimes we use some tools like Transvault in case if you need to migrate to Office 365. So from Veritas EV to Office 365, we can help our customer as well to migrate, and different migration like backup on the cloud, high availability. So we are enabled to do such migration and such project delivery.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Robert. Tariq, just to bring you back in relation to your presentation, as I said, really enjoyed it. But one of the statistics sort of that you cited that really jumped off the page at me was 50% of data that we don't know about it, which is obviously a huge issue. And you talked about the unique capabilities of your Veritas Data Insight solution. But is that designed to identify, flag, and mitigate risks? Or can it be used to increase the visibility of data? Like, what's its primary objective there? Can it do both, or what is its unique capabilities in your opinion?
Yeah. So we in Veritas APTARE, it's the only product in the market that it can scans data across any location. So most of across any collector, or disk, or hypervisor, or backup solution. Most of the solution in the market, they are storage only scanning, or backup only scanning, or cloud scanning. Yeah. With APTARE, it's one single solution, one platform that it collects data between any kind of backup, any kind of storage, any kind of cloud, and correlates the data across each other. Okay. So you can have a better view across these 3 different locations. So it's unique for APTARE to scans across different locations.
Okay, and just to stay on that, with regards to business continuity, Tariq, you know, what makes it unique compared to the rest of the products in the market? Because as we've talked about before, there's a lot of similar products that can perform the same scope. So, you know, with regards to business continuity, what's the nuances there?
Mainly a single platform to do failover and failback across any kind of platform. So it's a platform agnostic. It helps the customer not to lock them down to a specific hypervisor or a specific storage vendor. You can fail over from a data center that it has Hyper-V running on top of HP. You can fail it over to VMware running on top of EMC. So it doesn't lock the customer down to a specific hardware vendor, specific hypervisor with their own proprietary licensing to replicate data across the 2 sites. So it's platform and operating system agnostic.
Okay, so it's given the customers flexibility. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not narrowing them down. That's great. Robert, I just want to bring you back in again, and I suppose it's a bit of a generic question, but obviously we know eSolutions, you know, the success the company's had. What differentiates eSolutions from other data management companies in the market, in your opinion?
So, okay. As I said, eSolutions, we are focused on data protection. So we don't sell any other product. We all just have Veritas, and we are just focused on this area. So in terms of focusing, like for the past 15 years, like we have really high skills in terms of consulting team. And what differentiates us, actually, we help our customer. We work as a consultant to our customer. We help them to achieve their business continuity, their goals, everything. So we start from the day one with our customer. We help them on designing, on executing, on supporting. So we're taking on this area the full responsibility from day one to the end. So this is what differentiates eSolutions on other vendors in terms of data protection.
That's brilliant.
As well, I want to add, like we have the largest implementation. If you can talk, like what the biggest customers, if I can tell you, like Etihad Airways, Qatar Airways, Dubai Holding. So we have like large customers where we help them and we succeed, and they are happy from our services, and they see us as a consultant, like to help them on their journey. Yeah.
So you're helping them on your journey, and you've got expertise in consultancy. So no, that's brilliant. Thanks again for that, Robert. Tariq, I'll just bring you back in, and I want to talk a little bit about the disaster recovery. You know, you talked a lot about storage, protection, and whatnot. Tariq, how do you license the data recovery, disaster recovery solution? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So, and that's a good question for any existing Net Backup customer. Our new release from Net Backup was at the beginning of this month. We embedded the disaster recovery inside Net Backup license. So any existing Net Backup customer, he just need to upgrade to version 8.3, and you will have a disaster recovery solution free of charge, built in the license. He just need to connect with us for the implementation and configuration, and disaster recovery solution, VRP on the VM level for his infrastructure. The only add-on that he needs to pay extra is the application part. So need to add database, just add an add-on for database, and that's it. For any non-Net Backup customer, he just, when he buys a Net Backup license, the disaster recovery is built in. So imagine that from a budgeting perspective, from a financial perspective, you are buying with the same price backup and disaster recovery in the same license.
Yeah.
So from a budgeting, we are actually reducing 50% of the cost at least when it comes to a disaster recovery. So it's built in backup starting from the beginning of this month.
Wow. So you're reducing the cost by about up to 50%?
Yes.
So has there been a huge response from the market, obviously, towards that?
Yes, customer doesn't need to invest in a disaster recovery solution. It's already built in Net Backup. If an existing Net Backup license, if existing net backup customer, he has already the license free of charge. With a new customer, he just need to purchase net backup as a backup, and you will have disaster recovery built in.
Well done. Wow, that's fantastic. That's a great solution to have. So I'm sure you'll continue to see a surge in demand for that in the market. But I just want to talk. We've talked about hybrid cloud, and it's a very hot topic at the minute in terms of, you know, it used to be public versus private, but it seems to be the growing consensus that it's both really. It's a bit of both. How is that for someone who's been an expert in, you know, IT and cloud? How has that mindset shifted over the last couple of years? Is there any sort of determinant factors in your mind as to why that's happened? Or is it just because of the explosion of data, you need a hybrid cloud model? Like, what's your opinion on the entire industry?
So I'll see region.
Yeah.
So we still, we want to move to the cloud. All the customers, they want to move to the cloud, but they still want to hold the data inside the, hold it inside the data. And the problem that the IT and everyone know that the future is the cloud, but the regulation and the compliance force everyone to keep the data on premise. So people starting to move, and Microsoft started to shift the data center in UAE, and that's why the customers started to feel confident to move. We are also moving soon to the Middle East. We are moving our SaaS platform to the Middle East, because there are some concern that when we protect Office 365, we're protected outside in Europe or US. But informing everyone, officially, we are moving to the Middle East as a data center. Going back to your point, Mark, I feel that the next 5 years, we will still be in the hybrid model. Hybrid will be used for the cloud will be used for the non-critical data. The local data center will be used for the critical data, and the customer need to find a tool to move across these two locations easily. As an example, one of the customer, he moved to Office 365, but he wants to go back. He didn't like it. He didn't like it. He found that he doesn't have control. And yes, for the enterprise sector, Office 365 is not something that the customer can manage, like having local exchange. So that shift going on and going back, you need to have a tool to move. To move, yeah. My opinion and what I can see, that we will still be in a hybrid model for the next 5 years at least. Brilliant.
So I think what you've said there as well is the issue of data sovereignty in the UAE. Obviously, the fact that Microsoft has set up that data center here has addressed that. Robert, would you echo the sentiments expressed here by Tariq? Would you agree that next 5 years is going to continue to be this hybrid model approach?
Yes, for sure. I believe all the business is going into this direction. So I agree with Tariq on this statement.
Yeah. So look, guys, it's been a great presentation, panel discussion. You know, it's been a really, really good conversation. Obviously, I think there'll be a couple of participants who's going to reach out to both of you guys after this to find out a little bit more about your solutions and stuff. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate the participants and the attendees' time as well. It's been over an hour now, but I just want to, on behalf of CPI Media Group, I want to thank you both for your time today, for your contributions. Really enjoyed speaking to both of you, and I think, as I said before, you articulated your points really well. And Tariq, I really, really enjoyed your presentation, which was very comprehensive. And I know it was the first time I think you done it over Zoom, so I think you done a really good job with that. So well done. And look, I'll hand you back to. I'll give it over to you guys now if you want to thank the participants or whatever. But from me, I just want to say thank you to both of you and for all our attendees for joining today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. We hope that we see you soon. Let us know what you need. Let us help you how you go to the cloud. Any questions, any clarification, you have our contacts. We are here to help you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tariq. Take care, guys.
Yeah,